morning, everybody. Brian Moore, trustee. Chair McCarty earlier said something to the effect that the crutches were due to the last board meeting. I really want to compliment Chair McCarty's makeup artist because the cuts, the bruises, the lumps he has have been covered up. So I'd like to, express, acknowledgement to that. No, I've got a hip replacement coming up. I got a lot of phone calls for the extended car warranty. I didn't get the extended hip warranty call, so service life ran out, so that's coming up here in the next couple of weeks. I want to talk a little bit about the Defined Contribution Committee. This was created back as a result of pension reform in 2016, and by working with a remarkable group of folks, we all came from our own individual cities, 457 and 401A plans that we helped implement there. That's why we were gathered together. And this was even before I was on the board of trustees. I was just asked to kind of participate in this group. So a lot of really great minds came together, and we helped create this committee or program that went into effect on July 1st, 2017, because that's where pension reform put in place some the defined contribution provisions from 100% DC participation, as well as a DC hybrid program I'll just talk about briefly here a little bit later on. But these are some of the committee members. We have some vacancies that are occurring. Shout out to Brian Jeffries, president of the Professional Firefighters of Arizona, and Mesa fire captain who worked his last fire shift yesterday. He's retiring. His term on the committee has expired, so he's going to be replaced with another fire member. Ryan McKinnon, Scottsdale police commander, who's moved up in additional responsibilities. He was part of us with the beginning. He's going to be replaced with a police member, law enforcement community member. And then we have two additional committee positions that are going to be put in. One representing EORP, the elected officials retirement plan, because the EORP is now DC only, as well as CORP, corrections officers. So those appointments will be coming up shortly to fill out our defined contribution plan. So what does our committee do? Well, we provide oversight for the four separate plans that are under defined contribution. There's essentially 3 401As and 1 457 plan. The 457 plan is rather new, that was created, but all the funds, and these are all employee dollars that are in these plans. If the members where the employee contribution is split, they have a vesting schedule. For Corp is a little bit different, but all the other folks have a 10-year vesting schedule from with the employer contributions. So once that 10 years has elapsed, then they have all the contributions from the employer side are theirs. So every dollar that's in here is employee money. It's not employer money, except for how I was referring to that vesting schedule. And even with that vesting schedule, that money for those that leave the plan, and I'm going to talk about some forfeiture issues that we've been working through, that money has to stay in the plan under IRS regulations. So that's one of the things that we're really bound by. But the different plans that we oversee, we have the PSPRS Defined Contribution Retirement Plan. We have the Elected Officials Plan. And just as folks know, the EORP DB plan terminated or ended in 2014. So all new EORP members from jurisdictions that participate in EORP, they're all defined contributions. So they're part of the EORP DC plan. Then we have the supplemental 401A plan that has been around for a number of years within PSPRS. It's kind of an older 401A plan that we've had. And then we have the new 457 plan. And one of the plugs I want to make about the 457 plan is that for those of you that have, say maybe working with a vendor or have a small plan with small assets, you're going to end up paying significant amount of fees for your small assets, but you can, have your folks move over to our 457 plan at the state. It's kind of like I explained to folks, it's kind of like going to the contractor counter at Home Depot or going to the retail. You pay much less by making your purchases at the contractor counter if you have that discount. Same thing with us. We're able to get significant discounts on our investments, and I'm going to tell you about what our fees are in our plan here shortly. And it can be used by any member in the state of Arizona, any public safety member. You can come into our plan. We started off with a very small number. Now we're up to 250 public safety members across the state that have come in as far as our plans. That's into that 457 plan. So what does our DC committee do? We essentially oversee a number of different things. Number one is our plan record keeper. For the last few years, we've had Nationwide as our contracted record keeper. We did a national RFP a few years ago, and we're in the middle of one right now. So, we are looking at other vendors. We'll make a decision here very shortly who that is, if we continue with the incumbent, or, we have a new provider that comes in. Essentially, the record keeper, as I describe, I teach firefighters, is that the record keeper is like a semi-truck going down the road, and it has pallets of mutual funds on it. And there's a number of different trucking companies out there that can provide that level of service. The record keeper keeps track of what comes off those pallets and what goes on, and those are your investments. So that's just a little short, simple explanation for it. So there's several big trucking companies that provide record keeping, but that's just kind of a little analogy that I used. I have a pretty smart kid. He got a finance degree. He came back to me when he decided to take a public safety test. He took the right one, he took the fire test, he became a firefighter. For my law enforcement brothers and sisters in here, I'm just joking, okay? I hang out with you all the time, my best friends. I'm sitting with one in the back. He's actually my force protection, but nonetheless, hang out with law enforcement folks. But my son became a firefighter, and he came back from his new employee orientation, and he said, hey, Nationwide's trying to sell us stuff. And I just looked at him and I go, you don't really understand what they're presenting to you. They were describing the deferred compensation program, the investments you can choose and so forth, but I realized we had to kind of change the way we educate our new hires so they understood and got involved and started contributing these plans early on so they would have substantial assets on down the road. But anyway, that's what I had to do in far as that regards. Now, the other things that are really important to have a well-managed and well-governed plan is a plan consultant. So we also, at the time when we started this plan, we got, at the very beginning, we followed a blueprint. We got Sageview Consultants after a national RFP search. They helped us develop an investment policy statement. Then we went forth and developed the RFP for the record keeper, and then all the other ancillary services that we had to put together with a plan. We also, by state law, when this thing was created, there was a requirement that there had to be an education component of this. So we did a national RFP request, and Public Safety Financial Galloway hit all the bullet points of everything that we required with our plan, and they've been our plan education provider and outreach and do several hundred meetings across the state with our public safety members, helping them decide which plan is going to be best for them, the 100% DC only or the DB hybrid I'll talk about here in just a minute. We also oversee with our consultant our investment choices. We have about 20 mutual funds as well as a lineup of American Fund target date funds. We also have a guaranteed interest account, a stable value account with Nationwide that guarantees a 2.75% interest rate. And then we have a Schwab brokerage window, a self-directed brokerage window that participants can put together their own specific stock portfolios within the plan. Okay, who all's in it? Well, the public safety members who choose DC only, meaning that you enter the plan and you may not be working 25 years, so you make the decision, hey, I'm in my 50s, I got hired as a police officer, and there's a lot of folks that leave other occupations, become police officers and firefighters, but they're not going to be around to retire after 25 years, which is the Tier 2 and Tier 3 or Tier 3 requirements. So they're candidates that would who would benefit by going into the DC only plan. We also have those folks who select the DB plan, and they are eligible for what's called the DB-DC hybrid plan. So the DB plan is real similar to the one that's been around all along, or the other ones, Tier 1 and Tier 2, with a few differences that I'm not really going to get into. But you also have the DC account that you get if your employer is not in Social Security. And with that, you pay 3%, the employer pays 3%, so you have 6% going in there. These are also folks that are in the plan. And they're in the, just like I was talking earlier, the PSPRS DCRP plan. Then we have Tier 3 corrections officers who don't work for the administrative offices of the courts and probation and surveillance category. Tier 3 AOC who choose DC only. Tier 2 members who are eligible to join the plan but also do not contribute to Social Security. And then one of the things we did is after we put this plan in place, we found that from folks exiting drop, about five members every month in the plan were defaulting, meaning under the old law you had to do something with your drop account within 31 days of terminating employment. About 5 times a month, 5 people a month over time were having that drop check paid directly out to them. And that was just puts them into a stratospheric income level subject to substantial taxes. So what we did is legislation went into effect, and I think about 2018, that drop money automatically rolls over into the 401A plan, the guaranteed interest account. The other thing is we have a default account for those brand new hires when we go visit them in the academies, is that they automatically default into a target date fund. So it's not that they're going into something that is a flat level interest. At least they're getting defaulted into a target date fund that has a glide path over a number of years of service. The plans are all available to any PSPRS managed plan members and retirees. And what I mean by that is that, hey, if you're a PSPRS retiree, you have assets in another plan someplace else with a plan provider, you can roll them over into the PSPRS defined contribution plan. So that's another big advantage. Okay, elected officials, a DC component here. That was established after 2014 when the DB plan closed. We have also the 401A supplemental savings plan, which I told you about, which has been around for quite a while, and the 457 plan. 457 plan, like I said, is helpful for those employers that have small assets in their account. They have high administrative fees. You may not have a real robust governance of your plan members being part of the decisions within your plan. You guys would be good candidates for coming over to our 457 plan. Just as well is that employees of public safety that don't have access to a 401A plan because they may be able to shelter some terminal income when they retire or exit their employment, they want to roll it over into a DC plan to shelter from taxes, but they may not have enough room in their 457 account. The 401A plan allows them to do that. It's over $60,000 for this particular year that you can shelter that terminal pay. So those members that want to join that plan certainly are allowed to by law, and we'll take any of those jurisdictions that wish to participate by educating you and furnishing you with everything that needs to be done to bring into the plan. Where we are asset-wise and participation-wise, you can see right here the PS. That's a Public Safety Corrections Officer DC plan. It really should be labeled PSPRS DCRP plan. We now have about 13,000, almost 14,000 members in there. Our 401A supplemental plan is holds steady about 837 members. The elected officials is at just under 400 members, and our 457 plan is growing with 250 members. We're continually adding employers to our 457 plan every month, so that's going up. We have a total membership of about 15,000 folks statewide that are in the defined contribution plan, so numbers have grown substantially. Okay, where are our assets right now? The main plan, which is your Tier 3, Tier 2, and your drop account money, that goes into the PSPRS DC plan. We have about $530 million of assets in that plan right now. You can see the other two DC 401A plans, what their assets are. Our total balance is just under $600 million, but with those that extended drop, all of their money just rolled over within the last couple weeks, or we're well over $600 million in our plan assets, and those are employee dollars. Before long, I'd say within a year, we're going to be a $1 billion plan and continue to grow from there. So by having a larger amount of assets on our plan, we have reduced fees from the record keeper. We're down to about 7 basis points under our current contract. We're in negotiations, like I said, with an RFP process for a new vendor. We're looking at the incumbent as well as 2 others, but the more assets in the plan, the lower the fees. So we also have a forfeiture issue that I didn't really get to talk about yet, but I will. So unfortunately, the corrections industry is not a really desirable, it doesn't seem to be a really desirable plan for folks, and they only stay a year or 2, and getting into that plan, it's a DC only plan, so they contribute their dollars, the employer contributes their dollars. Well, when they leave before they're vested, they get to take their own contributions out and go to another occupation, whatever it may be, but the employer dollars have to stay in the plan. IRS does not allow us to give a refund to the employers, but they do allow us to spread that money amongst members of the plan, or we can give credits to employees for future contributions that they have to make to the DC plan. So that's what we've done, okay? The Board of Trustees established a policy that will use those dollars for members of the plan, and what we've done by that is the PSPRS DC plan, I mentioned we have a 7 basis point fee. That fee is waived, so we essentially have an indefinite fee holiday for members of that plan, meaning you don't pay anything for the plan. Those fees are being paid for by that forfeiture account. The other part of that forfeiture account is being used to give credits now. We just implemented that over the last few months to employers who actually have had employees terminate, but they've contributed to this DC plan. So those, and we have everything from the smallest fire district all the way up to the Department of Corrections. So Mike Smerick, our administrative person, has been reaching out to employers. You may have gotten information on the forfeiture funds. Hey, how do you use it? You can't use it on the defined benefit side, but what you can use it for is for future DC contributions of those folks in tier 3 members on down the road. So we have about $4 million in that account right now out of I mentioned about close to $600 million in assets. $4 million is in that forfeiture account. It's pretty sizable, so that fee holiday will be indefinite, but those credits also are available to those employers on the DC side. So wrapping this thing up, I'm in the way of a break, and I don't want to be known for that, but if there's any questions out there, hey, I'll be available throughout the day. And thank you very much for attending.